I challenged my team to say, well, what if I don't make another hire? What if we automate everything? We use AI wrap ups. We use this type of automation. We bring these pieces in. We bring it all together so that it's the smartest system that we could have. So we can get tasks in, out, managed, and done and be able to breathe, knowing that, yes, it's going to take some testing to get there, but I don't have to try to onboard somebody, introduce them to my entire system, then try to get them into the system, managing things, overseeing that, all while running the business and working with all of our clients.
If you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. You'll get the latest on marketing, AI, and how to grow your business. It only takes 2 seconds and really helps the show grow. So please hit subscribe and then continue listening. Rachel, great to meet you and have you on the podcast today. Um, just before I hit record, just now, you mentioned that you are madly in love with AI, and I'm curious, what is it that made you fall in love with it, or what is it that it's exciting you in the space right now?
Well, about 2.5 months ago, our project manager left. And we run agency that we are so busy. There are so many things happening all at once that you have to keep everything, every detail perfect, and it has to be moving. And in that project management space, you need someone who is beyond awesome, who can keep their finger on the details and know what to do, how to do it, and get it all set up. And I challenged my team to say, well, what if I don't make another hire? What if we automate everything? We use AI wrap ups. We use this type of automation. We bring these pieces in. We bring it all together so that it's the smartest system that we could have. So we can get tasks in, out, managed, and done and be able to breathe, knowing that, yes, it's going to take some testing to get there, but I don't have to try to onboard somebody, introduce them to my entire system, then try to get them into the system, managing things, overseeing that, all while running the business and working with all of our clients. And what's happened is it forced me to do the really hard things that I never really wanted to do, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
have to standardize what we're doing. I have to write it down so that every team member knows. I have to put together the steps on here is all the expectations that I have and what our clients have. Here's the brand kit. Here's the pieces of what you need to do each project and put them in all the right folders. It was a bear to do, but now that it's done, we're operating better than we ever have. And it's allowing us to scale up in clients like I've never seen.
That's cool. That's a really interesting kind of real world application. Like normally when I ask, because I often ask people, what are you excited about? And they're like, oh, this new tool or this thing. And that's all great. But, like, I've never heard a guest say, like, we replaced, like, our project manager with it, and we rebuilt our, systemization, and we put SOPs together and documented it all, and I just think, like, that's really cool. I can only imagine, like, just how challenging that would be, but also how it would transform the business. Because I think a lot of businesses kind of they don't have, like, standard operating procedures, especially small businesses, which you probably see a lot with your clients. Yeah, so it's really interesting that you did that. How did your team respond to it? Like, were they on board? Like, did you have to kind of get them excited, or what did that look like?
Well, so not only was it a loss of an employee who had been here for 3 years, but we had sort of built the business up so that every single client had something different. I had SOWs for every single client for everything that we would do for them, and they were all different. And how do you succeed? You cannot. I am setting up my team to fail if that's how custom we have to be. So, how do I make that better? And when I gave them this vision, everyone looked at me like I was nuts. And believe me, I looked at me like I was nuts. My husband said, "This is going to be a ton of work, but it's going to pay off. Just keep going."
No,
And
that's
so there are
great.
mornings I'm up at 3 in the morning trying to figure out, okay, if I blow this up, what could this look like? How can we make this really stupid simple? so that our clients get the same quality that they're expecting because they're expecting premium quality, but doing it in a way that I don't have to specifically train every person on every single client on every different piece's part. And then how do you keep the SOWs up to date? You can't. There is no way to do that. So that's where moving to the more of a holistic agency. Here is what we do and how we do it. Here are the brand kits with all the specifics for every single brand. And then being able to branch that out. And so now I have team members who have helped me automate wrap ups every week. So I have AI that goes through and it tells you what we've done all week. And then I can just print a PDF, send that to a client, and boom, it's done. It's out the door. I
That's
have
cool.
automations that they've created. So now if I create a new task in a folder, it'll attach what the product description is and the brand kit to that client, and then we're good.
That's cool. That's really cool. I think it's
So the team
interesting. Sorry.
and the team is fully on board because it has taken that onus
Mm,
off of somebody, and now it's always right.
right, right. I imagine too, like, there's it's probably, like, a balance, right, I imagine, for a lot of companies, like because there's obviously a danger of over systemizing, and there's different challenges with that, but then I think for a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, they probably under optimize or under systemize, I should say, and underutilize these tools, but I think it's a really cool question, and I think is where the, like, magic happens in AI, is how can we approach this differently? Or you mentioned, like, if I'm gonna blow this up and redo this, like, what needs to happen, and how can I approach this differently, and how can I build a better business? And I think that that's, like, a really interesting place to come from, of this, like, instead of like, "Oh, it's never gonna work," or, like, "We have to automate everything." It's like being in that place of wonder and curiosity of like, "What would this look like? And how can I, include my staff in this process so that they're happy too?" And I just think that yeah, it's really interesting. It's a very cool thing I haven't heard of anybody doing so far besides you.
I'm good at blowing up the business and then seeing, okay, now what's possible? Because if we don't look at that every year or so, we're stuck and we're doing the same thing again and again and again. And how much busy work can one person do and be
Mhm.
happy?
Exactly. And I imagine like for a lot of people, like more like staff, I mean, morale would improve because it's like all of a sudden, like you're doing more interesting work because it's not like you're kind of passing off the repetitive, mundane work to AI. And then, this other piece of doing, yes, you're doing work you enjoy, but then yeah, it's just yeah, I just imagine it would be a much nicer place to work where there are just clean systems and clean expectations. Myself personally, I love systems and I love the clarity that comes from it. And I joined this online group recently and they had like a list of rules, just as an example. They had a list of rules and it was like super specific and like this is what's tolerated and this is what's not tolerated. And it was just, like, really nice, and I'm like it's sort of like, we're in this day and age where people are afraid to be like, "This is the way to do things," or "This is how we're gonna do things." But I think there's so much value in that, there's so much value in clarity, which I'm sure it sounds like you found in your business of, "Here is the process, here is the outcome, here is the task," and just getting so clear on that internally, and then also being able to then communicate that to clients. And I know in the AI space, especially, like, as I've redone websites for my clients in terms of their content and like what do they do and who do they serve, it becomes so much more streamlined and clear for not only like the AI to pick it up of, oh, this company does this and recommends them in search results, but also for customers or people who come on their page to know like, oh, this is what they do and this is who they serve and this is the process. And I think it just makes the whole experience for everybody internally and externally so much better. So it's like,
Well,
mm,
the hard part for me is my company's Rockstar and Moon. I believe in being a rock star. I following process and creating process is not my strong suit. I am so much better at let's just throw something at the wall and
yeah.
see what happens.
And there's benefit in that
And
too. Like that's like the balance. Yeah.
yeah, and it's been really interesting thinking, okay, now I have to create that process and set that process, and then we have to stick to it and watch what happens so we can optimize the nonsense out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. And I think this is like something that I kind of say to clients, and I think that a lot of kind of people don't really think about is like they'll go and pay for marketing, but they're not looking at their analytics or their benchmarking, going, okay, like where are we now? And then like where are we in 6 months or 12 months or 1 month, like whatever the metric is, what metrics are we tracking? And I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, let's just, do something." But then it's like there's lots of, like you mentioned, like looking at the data or looking at like the results, and I think that that's a piece that maybe a lot of people miss of like, well, are you making progress? And do you know where you're going? Do you know what your goals are? Do you know where you were when you started? And yeah, it's an interesting piece. I mean, I have a very deep passion for data and analytics, so that's where I come in. But yeah, I think it's just, really interesting to look at, yeah, like what is the goal and what is the system and what are the results, and like looking at it holistically. And then maybe, yeah, throwing something against the wall and seeing if it sticks. And then if it does, it's like, cool. Like what happens so we can repeat it too, like having, I think you need both. Yeah.
And how do we make it better? Great, it's
Yeah.
stuck. Now, how do we get that to that next level? Is there a lever that we can pull? Is there some little tweak we can make?
Yeah, totally, totally. No, I think that's really important. And I was reading in your bio that you are known for your sort of direct and unapologetic style. How does that kind of approach? How does that shape kind of your relationships, either with clients or business or personal life? Like, how have you found success with that direct approach? Because I know, like, it's taken me a long time to get to that point where I'm like, just say what I like think, say what I mean, and getting really clear on that. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because it can be a little bit feels confronting, I guess, for me anyway. So yeah, how did you kind of cultivate that? Have you always been that way? And yeah, how have you seen that positively impact your business?
I was the ultimate people pleaser. When I was running my parents' company, it was, yes, I can go run down to the middle of Baltimore at 2 o'clock in the morning and pick up a disc. Yes, I can do these things. Yep. No, like, no. No woman should be driving alone to the middle of Baltimore in the wrong neighborhood to go pick up a disc so that we can get art going. And it, it was the wrong answer. And there were
Mm,
enough instances of that where I realized not only was my voice not heard, but I was devaluing it. And one of the things that I realized is people prefer my authenticity in saying, look, that sucks. We're not doing that. Here is where you're going. Remember, here is your goals. This is how we're getting there. This is from A to B. And the clients that don't value it, quite frankly, they're not the right clients for me. If I have to kid glove it and we're not going to get anywhere. Either you want to make a change and you want your business to get better, or we can play the, oh, well, I really think that we should try this, but maybe we could do this. No, you just want me to tell it like it is. We get from A to B and then we execute fast and we get it in play and then we're able to get data. But if we have that non authentic relationship, you're not going to trust me. You're not gonna care. You'd rather me shoot from the hip and say, we have this, we're going here, and this is what we're testing."
yeah, no, I think that's cool. And I think in this day and age where, in a sense, like a lot of people don't have that, like they're very like people pleasing. It's refreshing, and you get like better clients and you get better response from different people personally and professionally. Sometimes you might lose clients, but like you said, they're not aligned, so they're not good clients anyway. Was there like what like you mentioned you were a people pleaser. What was it that made you shift into being more direct? Like was there an event or a process or something just kind of clicked one day, or like what made that shift?
I was at Ticketmaster. I was running a division of marketing there, and all of a sudden, they came in and they did a little bit of a restructure of my division, which was awesome. Then I got to move to just the product marketing side of the world and run it for a couple of products, and that was amazing. And it didn't go as planned. And my boss said to me, "Well, why don't you just make travel reservations for execs?"
Right.
I don't even make travel reservations for myself without screwing it up. I'm not doing this for an executive level. It's just not happening. My response is no, absolutely not. You have 10 EAs. They are much better at this than I am. We're not playing around with, is this the right number? Do I have the right TSA number? Because when that gets screwed up, I don't want to be on the end of the call. I don't know what to do. This is not
Right,
my area of expertise.
right.
And I was called a princess. And
Mm.
you are going to call me a princess when I started with you years before. My job was only product marketing. And within a week of me starting, I started owning all B2B marketing, all B2C marketing, all B2B2C marketing, well, website creation on top of product marketing. And then I own their email system. And it's like, wait a minute,
And now you have to book
you
flights.
now I'm booking flights. Are you crazy? And so I realized if I just didn't stand up for myself in that moment, there was no way anybody else
Mm,
was gonna stand up for me. And I realized at that point, I had muted myself and I muted my beliefs on what's gonna get the business forward because it was such a corporate environment. And I realized there is no traction in a corporate environment if we're all muted, if everything's gonna take 17 years to be able to get it moved forward. And I'd rather not be on a slow bus.
mm, that's really cool. It reminds me of I have a background in accounting and I was the same like with payroll because it's so like you don't want to get one bank account number wrong or the pay is going to the wrong person and like sometimes for some clients it would be like a couple of $100,000 that is going out to like 50 different employees or however many and just the stress, and I'd be, like, checking and rechecking, and I'm just this it's not worth it. So, like, I definitely can resonate with um, that story that you shared, and it's just yeah, I think just that piece of being unapologetic and just being ourselves. It's I don't know who I learned this from, but they were like, if you can't be yourself, like, you're basically people don't know who you are, so they're not really, like, connecting with you. Whereas if you can just be yourself, you'll attract people who like you for you, and you'll repel other people, which I think is just, like, a bonus. You know?
And I think that honesty is appreciated now. I think there have been
Absolutely.
so many years of that corporate fluffiness. Oh, that's a great idea. Well, we'll circle back on that. No, it's a stupid idea. We're not doing it because of X, Y, and Z. And like, wouldn't you just appreciate knowing that so you can go fix it versus this
Yeah.
endless waiting game for a project that you need prioritized that nobody cares about and is never coming back to?
Yeah. And I think there's like a lot of respect as well and trust. I think you might have mentioned that before, like the trust piece, where it's like you're not just going to tell somebody what they want to hear and you're risking them getting mad at you. I'm just speaking from personal experience here, but like I've noticed when I'm honest, some people don't like it and they don't respond positively. And so, like, to be honest, like, it takes grit, like, it takes potentially, like, pissing someone off or losing a friendship depending on the situation, and I just think because of that, like, a lot of people shy away from it, but then if you don't shy away and you do, give people your honest opinion and, like, for example, like, the other day I had a call with a prospective client and I just said to him, like, I don't want to waste your time and money. Like, we can't work together right now because you need to go and do an MVP and test because he'd had like a free version of the product that like kind of sold to people. And I was like, you need to test like a paid version of this before we work together because like testing something for free isn't really enough data. So like it felt so good for me to just tell him that and be like, look, go out, get your MVP and come back once you've tested it and made sure it works and you've got paying customers, then absolutely we can talk about working together. And I just like in some ways it's like part of my mind is like, what do you mean? Wouldn't you just sort of like sign on this client? And I'm like, no, like I can't do that. That goes against my belief system and my values. And so I think and I could see he was like, oh, cool, like really appreciated that. And so I think because being honest and being truthful, like it's a rarity in these days, and so yeah, I think it's really important, and I think people just value it, absolutely, like you said.
I think the hardest part is once you realize you don't really have anything to lose. Because if you had brought on that client, you were going to drive yourself crazy and they were going to get upset because you weren't going to get the same results that they were expecting based off
Exactly.
having the MVP.
Yeah.
And it's either I lose right now and they'll come back in the future, or I'll lose in 3 months after we're ready to kill each other.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is something actually I was watching in a YouTube video this morning, the synchronicity, where it was like, yeah, like people are afraid of the short-term pain, but if you don't do something, it's going to cause much more long-term pain, which is exactly what you're talking about. Like we get so hyper focused on, oh, but it won't feel good and I might make them mad. And but then if you leave it and it keeps going, or you take on a client that's not a fit, like, yeah, I've done that before and I'm like, this just makes a huge headache for me down the track. So it's it's having, I guess, that foresight and that kind of, yeah, being able to look and see like in situations like that, which it just takes time and practice. Yeah.
I think it's so hard the first time because you want to say it. It's playing in the back of your mind. If you don't say it now, you are going to be thinking about it for the next 6 weeks. Just why didn't I say this? Why didn't I? And so being able to
Mm,
connect that in that moment is power.
yeah, for
And
sure.
you're not delivering it to be a jerk. You're not delivering it in a mean tone. You are just saying, this is not cool. This is not kosher. We're not going down this path, whatever that may be.
Mhm.
And their reaction kind of tells you everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like a good test, like I guess, in relationships when we start dating someone new, like we're testing them, right? We're kind of pushing them to see like where do they sit on certain things. And that's effectively what we're doing. Like which I think is something that is really beneficial to do at the start of a relationship, personal or professional, where it's like, can I give them some honest feedback or some honesty? And how do they respond? And if they respond like negatively, then that's to me, that would be a red flag of like, okay, maybe this is not the relationship I want to be in right now. But if they respond positively, like then you're like, oh, maybe I do want to work with this person. That's really cool. So it's a good test. Yeah.
And I think once you get that honesty between each other, you get a really good working relationship. There are times where I have great relationships with clients that I know I can joke around in just the right way to see if they're paying attention. Like they'll write me, "Hey, I really need this. It's really important. Can you do it right now?" And I'll just write back, "No," followed by, "Of course, it's already done and in your folder," like a minute and a half later. But they saw that no. It's like, "What? Hold on." And then the next email comes in and like
Right.
it's such a funny moment. And normally I get the call when just it's constant laughing.
That's cool. And like how nice to have a relationship like that with your clients where you can do that and like they know you're just like messing with them.
Well, and I think I come to every meeting just as who I am. I don't want to put on the uber professional. I don't want to hide behind a mask. I show up and
Mhm.
you get the sailor out of me. You will always hear some four-letter word. It just comes out. That's how this works. But my clients all see in my friends and everyone who knows me, I show up, I'm authentic, and this is just what you get and who I am. And it's in every single part. So whether I'm speaking on behalf of the marketing agency or I'm meeting with a client or I'm speaking on behalf of my nonprofit, it's the same person.
Mm. That's cool. I like that. It's refreshing. Yeah, like we mentioned in this day and age, and especially like with AI, I think like it's just going to become, I think, more important to just be direct and honest and authentic, and not just like a hype person. I mean, being a hype gal sometimes is needed, and if that's what the situation requires, then like yeah, let's get excited. But if there's as long as there's truth in it too, like, and not just, yeah, smoke and mirrors. But so you mentioned kind of just before we started that you work obviously with a lot of small businesses and, a lot of the times they're asking you like, how do we get ahead? How do we make magic happen? What would you sort of say to those people?
There are so many of our clients that start out and just say, I just need social media. No, you don't. What's the goal? Like, what are we trying to get? If you tell me you need to get on TikTok so you can get clients as a B2B, eh, that's not happening, not in any way, shape, or form. And it's so much effort and resources. And so we talk about how to do more with less. It's doing those right things, doing them in the right way, and what can we automate? What can we get out of the way? For example, we will automate with every single one of my clients calendar invites. So you book a meeting with them, you're going to get a pre-call series that goes out. Let's say you miss the call. There's an automation that goes with that. Let's say it's not the right time. There's automations that go with that. And being able to streamline these pieces it's just so important for my clients, and making sure that they have the right setup for tech is even more important, because we are so great as humans, right? At going out and we're getting new business and then we're delivering for our clients and we're so excited. But like, if we don't have a database of people that we can email about that success who are in our queue for prospects, what are we doing? Or people who said it's not now, or any of those, and being able to share how great you've just done for this client, it's huge. And I think having the right tech, the right support system, and building all that together, it means you don't need more people. Not right now, not until you're actually ready to scale. And we've just proven that out.
I think that's a really cool point. And yeah, it's something that a lot of businesses don't consider is like, can you get your systems in place first before you try and scale? Because it'll make your life a lot easier. And also, this piece of a lot of businesses have like so many contacts in their current client base who they're not emailing and they're not reaching out to. And like the other week, I just put an email newsletter together for a client, and it just has like a referral request for them, like with a gift card of like, if you know any family friends who would benefit from our service, like feel free to refer them and we'll give you a gift card of this much. And, I think there's this focus on like, oh, I've got to get new people and I've got to get new customers and cold leads and paid ads. And you mentioned TikTok, like I've heard that as well. You just got to do this. And it's like, no, like, I mean, again, yeah, same. What is your goal? And also, like, let's reach out to our current network. Let's reach out to our current customers or in our current leads and share case studies and share successes, like you mentioned. And build through warm leads. I think there's just such a big focus on cold outreach, which is obviously great and is an option, a channel that you can have success in, but it's so much easier to sell to like referrals and warm leads. So it's an interesting thing that I think a lot of people kind of forget about because it's exciting to be like, oh, I'm going to go on TikTok and make all these videos, or I'm going to go and use this AI tool. And there seems to be like a disconnect between, well, what is the goal? And is this actually going to get you there? And if it's not, like, let's look at something else?
Yeah. I think the hardest part of being in business is knowing the right things to focus on.
Absolutely, 100%.
It is the most impossible task to figure out, okay, these are the right set of tasks. I need to just focus on this. Yes, client delivery matters. Yes, all these other things matter, but this is the most important thing that I need to do today, and get it done without the interruption.
Mm, yeah. So I'm just making notes as you talk. I'm like, yes. Agreed. And it's like, it was funny, like when I first started my corporate job, one of my first corporate jobs, the boss, he just said he had this thing he used to say, KISS, like keep it simple, stupid. And, like I think I would kind of complicate everything. Obviously, I'm brand new to the workforce. And he like just keep it simple, like that's it. Like just simplify it. And I think this is something I've talked about on the podcast with someone else, but there's this tendency, I think in probably a lot of industries, but especially marketing or AI, to overcomplicate in business something when really the benefit would be to simplify it and to streamline it and to build a system around it and to like really boil it down into like two or three core things of what's actually going to move the needle and like what's going to move this business forward and really spending time thinking about that and then, like you said, going and taking action. It's this kind of balance of spending time reflecting and not just rushing out to do something and not just taking action. Like I know there's people out there who are like, you just got to take action. And I'm like, that's great. But I think there's some nuance we can add where it's like, make sure you're taking action in the right direction. Otherwise, you're going
Mhm.
to end up somewhere completely different and be like, well, I've done all this hard work. Like, why haven't I got to where I want to go? And so I think that there's like it's both, right? Like you said, it's knowing what to focus on and when, and then taking action, rather than taking all this action and then being like, oh, yeah, maybe not.
One of the things that we've also done this year is I run a nonprofit. We do chemo care kits to cancer patients across the US. And we were doing great. I had 20 requests a month to send out. Yes, I run a marketing company. No, we were not marketing it on purpose because that meant it's extra energy and fundraising and things that I would have to do.
So is this just, sorry to interrupt, was this just like word of mouth or that people were
It
finding out or?
I had a website here and there. I'd raise enough money and I would do one Facebook post saying that we have chemo care kits,
Okay.
and within 10 minutes I'd get 100 requests and I'd have to take down the post. Like,
Wow.
the need for cancer, it's insane. And
Wow.
so any cancer support that there is, it's huge. And
Mhm.
so I didn't automate. The 20 requests a month, that fulfilled my heart. It made me happy.
Mhm.
And then January happened. And January of this year, they featured us at the top of cancer care news. My 20 requests a month went to 250 requests a month. I had to scale up overnight. I don't know how I got on the top of this digital magazine. I have no idea why we're at the top. I have no idea how this happened, why this happened, who did they won't even write me back. How are
Wow.
we featured? I don't know. I didn't even get a heads up other than orders started coming in and it was like, "Oh, crap." And so then what do you do? Because everything for 20 is manual. So overnight, we mapped out the system as to, okay, the order's placed. Now an email goes out. If they don't respond, then a reminder should go out. Then if they don't respond, what happens? And how do we make those journey maps so that everything can be visualized before we build it?
Mm.
I already had all the emails. I already knew it in my head, but I had to communicate this to my team so they could build, so I could keep everything else moving forward. And the minute they rebuilt the system, what took that first weekend, I, I have never emailed that many people in my life all at once manually. Went to now I just tag them as approved and they go into the system. And
Mm.
it's so different and it's so refreshing. And then we even then created an automation where, because before I was manually sending out everybody their tracking code afterwards.
Oh, wow.
You can't scale that. You have to bring in automation to do it. So now I download all the tracking information. I upload it to the system. It sends out the emails. It asks for a review. It does all those things because I can't.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And I think it's it's so cool that we have access to these tools to allow us to automate things. And I love that you mentioned, kind of mapping out the journey so that you know what to automate and what steps need to sort of trigger. And I think that's just so cool. Like that's exactly where like I think a lot of people should start, or business owners, it's where I would start, is like drawing even just like a flow chart of like, okay, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Even just documenting like a process as you do it from start to finish manually and then going, oh, okay, like we can automate this, this, and this. It's such a fascinating process. And I think that for a lot of business owners, it might feel overwhelming to be like, well, I don't know what to automate and I don't know how to do it. And I think it's just what you said. It's just start with a flow chart. Start like mapping out one simple, time consuming manual task that you're doing in your business and just break it down like step by step as if you were training someone and then look at it and go, what can we automate or how could we automate this process? What tools will we need? And again, like simplifying it like just into like these basic building blocks. But that's really, really cool that that happened and blew up and all of that. Yeah. That's a great
It
story.
now means we have to go to work for fundraising, but it's a great thing.
It's a good
And
thing, yeah.
we've now, since January, we've shipped over 2,000 kits, well over
Wow.
2,000 kits this year.
Wow. And what's included in the kit? I'm just curious.
So every kit's a little bit different. We have socks. We have a port pillow. The port pillow covers the chemo port, and you put it on your seatbelt. So when you're going to and from treatments, it's just not absolute hell.
Mhm.
We have hand salve, we have lip balm, we have Purell. Some have eye masks, back scratchers,
Mm.
ginger tea, and ginger chews. Some of those comfort items that you just absolutely need to calm down your stomach or do the right things, right, as we're coming together. Some of the other things that we've included at times is just masks
Mhm.
because they're walking in and out of the hospital, tissues, journals, because it's a really emotional time and there's things that it's going to bring something up for you and you just want something to write down.
Mhm.
Nail clippers, nail files, the list just goes on and
That's
on.
cool. Wow, it's
Yeah.
it's such a cool idea, and if you're open to sharing, I'd love to hear kind of your sort of background with that because I think in your bio you said you are a cancer survivor, and I just think it's really cool because I think so many people go through such hard stuff and come out like victorious and, get on with their life. And I just think it's so inspiring. Actually, I've been reading these books lately that are just like basically like this huge trauma happens and it's just about how the person like adapts and grows out of that. And it's just like, World War II or the Vietnam War or what have you. And it's so I find it so interesting. So I mean, if you're happy to share about your story, then yeah, I'd love to. I'm sure everyone would love to hear it. But yeah, like how did you kind of like obviously imagine it would be incredibly challenging and then but obviously like, you're doing so well. Like how did you kind of keep a positive mindset or just kind of yeah, hold yourself through that process?
So my husband and I, we met in Vegas. Our first date was in Germany. So I've known this relationship was always going to be a whirlwind. He had just moved me to Florida and we were there for just a short amount of time. And then he gets a job offer to move us to Chicago. So 2 weeks before our wedding, we moved to Chicago.
Oh wow.
We don't have any friends or family there. Like we know some people, not a ton. And we just kind of uproot our whole lives and we go out to Vegas and we do our big wedding at the Neon Boneyard and things are going amazing. And now we're trying to get pregnant. And so I'm traveling for work. I'm in New York. I'm in, I think, Google headquarters at this big Verizon executive conference. And all of a sudden I'm green. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I didn't drink last night. I'm all of a sudden I can't fit in my pants. And if I'm green and can't talk and I can't fit in my pants, I should not be near people. Like the smell of coffee is now going to make me throw up. And I was like, wait a minute. I think I'm pregnant. And then I was like, wait, I really want a donut. I haven't had donuts in 20 years. I, I don't eat donuts, but this is what I want. I'm pregnant. That's it. Get me. So I left. I got in a cab. Took the next flight home. I'm stuck in traffic getting there. And like, it's weird. I'm not feeling great. Things are just odd. A week and a half goes by and things are not any better. And my stomach is killing me. And I Google it. And because all the other symptoms, I think I'm pregnant. We're trying, right? All the symptoms line up and stomach pain. And if you Google stomach pain and pregnancy, every woman says it's the worst stomach pain in the world.
Mm.
So I go to the urgent care clinic. They do blood work. It's a Saturday. They say, we're closed tomorrow. We'll call you on Monday with results, but you're definitely not pregnant. All
Mhm.
right. So the next morning, first thing in the morning, it wakes me up. They call and they say, hi, we're the lab. We're not actually allowed to call you, but we have to because we've never seen a white blood cell count that's so high. And I was like, oh, okay, what do I do? They said, you need to go to the hospital. I was like, well, am I going to be able to eat? And they said, no, you need to go to the hospital and check yourself in now. I was like, okay. So we walk the dogs and I decide we're in Chicago. Saturday night's probably tons of gunshot victims that are there that are going to go in before me. I'm not anybody special. Let's stop and eat. We'll get food. So I stroll into the hospital. I show them my phone with the results. I don't even get to register. I don't even get to give them more than my first name before I am wheeled to the back, which never happens. Like, this doesn't happen,
Mhm.
especially in the US. They need your insurance and all the things to run if they're going to take you. So I'm in the back, and turns out wasn't pregnant. My appendix burst,
Oh, shit.
and I waited a week and a half. And
Wow.
yeah, so the infection was much bigger. And so I was in the hospital for a few days, and they're getting the infection down. And then 6 weeks later, after a whole antibiotic course and steroid course, I had surgery. They said, okay, 2 weeks later, you're kind of come in for your follow up. It's like, do I need to bring anybody? No, just come in for follow up. I even checked the day before, do I need to bring anybody with me? And they said, no, just come in. And it's running late. It's the end of the day on a Friday. I don't know why I'm now 2 hours late sitting here waiting for a follow up. They take me to the back and they say, so you have cancer. It's like, no, no, I don't. And they're like, yes, you do. I was like, no, I quit my job yesterday. I'm on candid camera. This isn't funny. This isn't happening. And the doctor and the nurse are sitting there. I'm like, well, we'll just wait. And now we're all staring at each other, and there's this deafening silence, right? And so they said, you should probably ask what comes next. And I was like, well, I guess you just asked the question, what comes next? And like, well, we have to do surgery and we're going to meet with the oncology team. It makes great. So I get through surgery and I get through, where they say it was self contained. I was one of the lucky ones. And in most cases, had it not been in that place, I would have stage 4 colon cancer. And
Wow.
that would probably have been at the end in a few years. So, taking all that in and going through this experience was hard. Going through this experience in a new place was even harder because I don't know anybody who's gonna walk my dogs. I don't know, right? And I'm gonna be in the hospital, I'm gonna have things going on. I don't know anybody who is like, could come clean the house or set where am I gonna get pizza sent in or food? I have no idea. And it was just a lot. And it wasn't like our family really lived close. So each of them flew in to try to help make things better. But what do you do? And then the weirdest thing happened. Before cancer, my phone would always ring off the hook. It was always a friend messaging me something stupid, calling me about something. And the minute the cancer diagnosis happened, silence.
Mm.
Friends, family, coworkers, because they didn't know what to do or what to say. And we don't always want to talk about cancer. So like, call me and talk about how crappy the Real Housewives of whatever is. Tell me something silly that happened in school or that was something dumb your dog did, or send me dad jokes. Any of those
Mm.
things would have filled that void. But I didn't have that. And so what I've always kept from that was, wouldn't it be great if there was something actionable that anybody can do that wouldn't cost anything, just to show love during this time? So, somebody has to go through chemo, just send a kit. And that's what we built. And we created this about 5 years ago, right, in the pandemic. Because if you were going to ever have a moment to throw something at the wall and see if it could stick, isn't that the time? And we've been able now, we're over 3,500 kits that are shipped. Every month there's another 250 or more. And it's just unbelievable. And we're just so lucky that we've been able to pull this together and get the support to be able to get it out the door.
Mm. That's cool. It's an amazing, yeah, story. And I think, like, what a practical way to just be like, if you don't know what to say, like, just send someone a kit. Like, that's again, like taking an action and just being like, we're thinking of you, that's it's cool. Like, it's something that I've been doing lately actually. It's like when, because I live overseas and I'm separate from my family. When someone passed away, I just sent everybody like a hamper because I was like, well, it's still cheaper than me flying home for the funeral. So, and it's just a practical way I can show support. So I think, I mean, it's obviously different, but I think that's just a really cool, practical way that people can, yeah, show their support in a time to people that they may not know what to say or what to do. Yeah.
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 That's the goal, right? It's just small actionable steps that we could do.
Yeah. I think that's cool, and I think that's a great place to end the podcast. Um, right on time. For people who want to know more about you, where can they connect with you online?
You can go to rachelminion.com and you can learn about the marketing agency as well as our nonprofit there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really fun, interesting conversation. Thank you for coming on the podcast, and thank you everyone for listening.